Hello. Today we are recapping the Real Housewives of Orange County, Season 18, Episode 4. Let's jump right in. The episode opens up with Heather taking Gina, Shannon, and Jen to get a mammogram. So she said, the early detection is the, best way to catch things. And all the girls are like, even Shannon was like, I haven't had a mammogram in, 10 years. And she's like, oh my gosh. So Heather decided to, take them all to go get a mammogram on camera, which seems very scary. Like, you're already freaked out, I'm sure. And then to have this film crew with you, but whatever. As the girls are sitting in the waiting room, Jen tells the girls about getting kicked out of Alexis's house, and then Shannon reads a text that she got from Alexis. The text is basically a backhand saying if Shannon can afford this trip to London, which it's a cash trip, so she's not paying for it, then she for sure can come up with the $75,000 that she owes John. Ha! So basically, this is like Alexis turning the page because remember she sent her the bouquet of flowers to her 60th birthday tea party as like an olive branch, and Shannon wanted nothing to do with it. So Alexis is like, all right, bitch, I'm going to come at you again. That's basically what this is saying, I think. Jen tells the girls that she has had a lump in her breast for 5 months, but the doctor said it wasn't cancer, and so she was very excited about that. So they're in the waiting room, and Jen's like, yeah, I found this she's telling the doctor in front of all the girls, I found this lump, can you check it out? And the girls are like, oh my gosh, you have a lump and you haven't checked this out in 5 months, which I get it. You don't want to deal with it, right? If it is cancer, you just want to be like, no, I'm good. I don't want to deal with this. But the doctor ends up telling her it's not cancer and she's all good. So very exciting about that. The doctor actually tells Heather that she has really dense breast tissue and that it's hard for them to see everything on the mammogram that they're doing, and that her risk factor is coming in at a 39% for cancer. And so Heather's sitting there and she's like, well, what is a normal risk factor? What does that come in at? And the doctor says that the normal risk factor is 12%. So Heather's kind of sitting there like, oh my gosh, this is kind of crazy. Shannon and Gina are clear as well for the mammogram, and they all meet up in the waiting room to exchange their good news. Heather's a little upset that nobody asked her how her mammogram went. All the girls are in there. They're like, oh my gosh, you're good, you're good, you're good. And then Gina's like, well, I have to get to a showing, bye. And Heather's like, okay, nobody asked me about my mammogram, and she was the one that had the scariest one. So she's feeling some type of way. So the girls are heading to London, and Katie and Heather are the first to arrive at the airport for the London trip, and it's very awkward. You can tell Heather wants nothing to do with Katie, and they're trying to make small talk, but it's not really working. The girls arrive in London, and Shannon gives all the girls Burberry scarves, and then Tamra says, why is Shannon giving $500 scarves to everyone when she is in a $75,000 lawsuit with John? Doesn't make any sense. Heather and Tamra are talking about how Shannon went on Jeff Lewis. So Jeff Lewis, if you don't know him, I'm not going to go into too much of a backstory, but he had this big show back in the day called Flipping Out, which was fantastic. And he's got his own radio show now, and he knows a lot of the housewives, and he definitely stirs up a little bit of drama. But anyway, so Shannon went on Jeff Lewis and basically admitted that $75,000 was a loan from John on the Jeff Lewis show. So she's kind of incriminating herself. I would hate to be Shannon's PR person, let me tell you that. The girls head out to explore London a little bit and then go on a boat tour, which is a speedboat tour. And they have to be fitted for life jackets. And of course, they're all in Gucci and high heels. And it is just hilarious watching these girls get all dolled up and get hair and makeup done. And then they do these crazy things that fan boat thing and wherever they were, New Orleans. This is the same thing. This is a speedboat. They're in rain slickers and life vests and all this stuff, and they're in their Gucci. Watching Heather on the boat is equally as hysterical because, she's Miss Fancy Pants. She's getting sprayed with water and it's going really fast. She's I don't like this. The girls sit down for dinner and Tamra asks everybody about their mammograms, and Heather gets upset and tells them that it hurt her feelings that nobody checked in on her and her test results when they all went together. Gina says in her interview, why did Heather wait so long to say something? When Heather grilled her about not saying something sooner about the Katie paparazzi thing, because Gina knew about the Katie paparazzi thing, she had talked to Katie about it before. And Heather was like, well, why didn't you just tell me about it? And so Gina's like, well, why? It's been a long time since we did our mammograms. Why are you waiting till we're in London at a table with all the girls and making it a big deal? Why didn't you just call me if you were upset? Which is, I feel kind of flippant about that, because it's Gina needs to be more sensitive to the way that Heather's feeling. But I do understand, why wouldn't Heather just, speak up about it? Katie says at the dinner table that she's going to Korea to meet her birth mother because she's adopted, that for her 40th birthday. And Emily says it's good that Heather is opening up to Katie because Heather is, asking her questions about this. And then Heather goes in her interview and says, yeah, I was just, genuinely curious about Katie's past because it's very interesting. Too bad Katie's not. I was like, what? Damn, Heather's coming for Katie, and I get it. Tamara brings up that Shannon went on Jeff Lewis and talked about her lawsuit. When Shannon keeps saying she doesn't want to talk about it, Shannon's like, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. Like, obviously Shannon does want to talk about it, but the girls are like talking about it, kind of talking about it at the dinner table, and Shannon's like, I don't want to talk about it. And then Tamara's like, well, you brought it up on Jeff Lewis. So, do you want to talk about it or you don't want to talk about it? Shannon then tries to explain herself and lets it slip that John did send her a promissory note after he gave her the money. So, again, incriminating herself that it was a loan, the $75,000. Heather comes at Shannon about Jeff Lewis as well, saying she never thought about if John heard the accident or not when she went to Heather's room and was crying and saying how could he not hear it? So, if you remember I think it was, I can't remember, they were on some trip, and Shannon came to Heather's room and showed her like the bloody picture after her DUI and was like crying and all that stuff, and they were talking about if John could have heard the accident or not. And Shannon obviously was like, how could he not hear the accident? Like, it was literally 30 seconds after I left the house. It was right down the street. And so apparently Shannon went on Jeff Lewis and was like, Jeff Lewis was like, well, do you think that John ever like heard the accident or anything? And Shannon was like, I haven't really thought about it. So Heather's starting to think like, you kind of played me to put this on camera. Heather actually says that she feels used by Shannon, that she used her to put it on camera with that scene showing her the picture and everything. And she's really starting to feel some type of way because she feels like Shannon's using her to like spin her narrative on the situation. Shannon starts to feel ganged up on and ends up leaving the table. Tamara says Shannon is obviously running towards the bar, which she is. She goes straight to the bar and orders a drink. Gina goes to console Shannon, and Shannon tells Gina that she feels kind of betrayed by Heather. Then Shannon goes on to talk about Alexis and how Alexis said she had nothing to do with the lawsuit that involved Shannon and her ex, Jim Bellino. And Tamara, if you remember, there was a whole defamation of character, I believe it was, lawsuit between Tamara, Jim Bellino, and Shannon. And Alexis was like, I had nothing to do with that. Jim and I had been divorced for 6 months when that lawsuit started. Well, Shannon brings up text messages from Alexis that proves she was involved, basically saying like, my husband and I are going to come after you. We're sending you a cease and desist. So she's like trying to defame Alexis basically in this last scene. So then the episode ends. I hope you enjoyed my recap. What did you guys think about the episode? I will link down below a playlist to all the other episodes in this season. Hit that subscribe button to check out all my other recaps, and thank you so much for joining me, and I will check you on the next one.